We're very thrilled that you've all, those of you here joining us at De La Viega Elementary School, have come out in person on a cold night. And thank you everyone for joining us online as well. A lot of our shared area is up in the mountains, and so we totally understand both between the weather and the drive that if you want to join us remotely, and we're happy that you are. I'm now going to hand it over to Gail to give her update about state business and anything you want to say. And we are working off of my laptop here, and so if I need to jump in and do any tech stuff, just let me know.
Good. Thank you, Supervisor Koenig, and thanks to all of you for being here tonight. And is there still snow in the mountains? Anybody up there that see the snow? It was so amazing seeing the pictures. I used to live up in the mountains, and I remember driving around with my chainsaw in the back of the car this time of year because you never know when you might need it. But yes, I want to just also introduce my team here today. We've got my district director, Marianne Groen, and field representative Lizette Jones, and Charlie, who is our intern that's here. So welcome to all of them. We got some goodies over there. Now for me to do this, I just do the arrow. Okay. Oops, wrong arrow. Which arrow? This one?
Yes, I think that. Let's see. Yeah. Or click.
Click.
Now it'll work.
Okay, now it'll work. Okay, so here's just a little bit about me. I have served as the chief elections official in Santa Cruz County from 1993 until I retired in December of 2020. And I saw some of you are former poll workers that are in here today. I served as president of the California Association of Clerks and Election Officials, and I did that from 2010 to 2012. I was on the Secretary of State's Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee. And I was elected to the State Assembly in November of 2022 to represent the 28th Assembly District, and I'm now in my second term. At the time, we were looking for a woman to run for a state office because Santa Cruz County had never elected a woman from Santa Cruz to any office higher than countywide. So we set out to change that, and we were trying to recruit women to run for a state office, and it seemed like every woman I spoke to said she couldn't do it, but why don't I do it? And here I am today. So, but prior to my public service, I served as a campaign assistant for political campaigns. I was a newspaper reporter, so shout out to our newspaper reporters, a photographer. I was a community college instructor at the Merced Community College in Los Banos. And I earned my Bachelor of Science degree in journalism from Cal Poly San Luis. Go Mustangs. Total population of this district is just shy of 500,000. Santa Clara County has about 70% versus Santa Cruz County with 30% of the constituents. My cities include San Jose, I got the southern portion, Los Gatos, Montessorino, Morgan Hill, Santa Cruz, and Scotts Valley. So that's a map of the district there. And so it's basically the harbor in Santa Cruz, north of the county line. I go through the San Lorenzo Valley, over the summit into Los Gatos, and then you got Montessorino, Willow Glen, Cambrian, down the Almaden Valley, Coyote Valley to Morgan Hill. I turn around here, I take in some lovely wine country, and I go through the forest of Nicene Marks back down to the harbor. So I think the district looks a lot like a fist. And that's what I think about when I am representing you in Sacramento, that I am fighting for our resources and our voice in Sacramento. I am chair of the elections committee. Makes sense with 27 plus years as a chief elections official. I have some expertise. I also sit on appropriations, business and professions, natural resources, and privacy and consumer protection, where we're working a lot with the AI and putting guardrails and regulations around that. I'm also the chair of the Select Committee on California's mental health crisis. My family has been profoundly impacted by mental health, and anything I can do to connect people to resources and work on workforce and get more facilities is critically important to me. So we will hold a series of informational hearings with stakeholders, gather information, and then hopefully turn that into legislation. So this last year, we did one on the 988 mental health hotline that you can call or text when you're in a crisis, and checking in to see how that is doing and if it's needing more funding. And we found some gaps, and we're going to be continuing to work on that. I also sit on the Child Care Cost Select Committee, effective post-secondary career technical education workforce development programs, it's a big name, reproductive health, and then the Youth Mental Health Committee as well. And then in 2025, I sent 10 bills to the governor and he signed all 10. So that's a pretty good batting record, I think. And one of the bill, just some highlights, AB 414 allowed for landlords to return the deposit to tenants in the same manner in which they provided it. So that's via e-transfer or wire transfer, if that was previously used as a payment method. Third time around, coming in with AB 679, I was working with Sempervirens Fund to be able to transfer properties that they had purchased to and transfer those to state parks for ongoing stewardship and maintenance and working with their trail system and wildfire prevention. I did this bill 3 times, third time's a charm, got it signed into law. And then we did a bill that was actually brought to our attention from my former chief of staff. She was moving down to the Central Valley. Her family inherited a cherry farm, so they were relocating, and she's in Sacramento with her 3 kids, looks for housing in the valley, finds this great house, puts her kids in the car, drives the 2.5 hours down there, gets to the house. The pictures showed a beautiful white kitchen with marble countertops and an island and state-of-the-art appliances. And she gets in there, no kitchen. There was nothing. It was just some kind of, high, like utility kinds of shelving and stuff. So it was an image that was enhanced by AI and put on the website to entice people to come and see the home. So we're saying, if you're going to do that, label it, make sure people know that this is created using AI. And then I did a bill for our city of Santa Cruz, AB 996, that allows our local coastal program revisions to be working with the Coastal Commission well before the deadline on when those plans are due so they can get feedback along the way. And then I worked with the local solar company, Scudder Solar, and exempting small businesses from the requirement to register as an awarding body before installing solar. So this removes a lot of the paperwork and the barriers for small businesses to put solar in. So that was a big win as well. And then the budget in 2025, we're currently in the 25-26 budget year. We rejected cuts to social services, Planned Parenthood, women's health clinics, and our CSU and UC systems. Our college system in California is the gold star of the world. People from all over the world come to California. They want to attend our universities, and the people that are educated here, our Californians that go to these schools, are in high demand for careers everywhere. It's really an incredible system. We did not want to see them sustain cuts. We also increased funding for TK through 12 education, preserving universal school meals. We increased pay for childcare providers. We invested in public safety, providing $100 million to support organizations serving survivors of crimes. We increased the personnel to prevent future wildfires. So this used to be a seasonal thing. Now it's year round. So we're funding those firefighters year round. And we did it with no new taxes on individuals or families while reducing some taxes for military retirees. So these are just some of the budget wins I worked on: the Healthy School Food Pathway Program, diaper banks, so critically important. We have the Second Harvest Food Bank here as a diaper bank, and it's an amazing resource. There's 11 in the state, and we're one of them here in Santa Cruz. We got money for our Santa Cruz County Public Library, the California Vax system that tracks vaccinations and illnesses to make sure that we can all be healthy. And then we also got some money for the 5 Branches University in Santa Cruz. And we did funds for an equitable payroll fund that helps out nonprofits, specifically performing arts organizations and hiring and retaining employees. And then we got our Victims of Crime Fund that we did. We worked on that with our Walnut Avenue Women's Center and the Santa Clara District Attorney, and then the firefighter transition. This year, deadline to introduce bills is tomorrow, and we are at capacity. So we are fully loaded with our bills for this year. And our bill package is going to focus on issues around mental health, consumer protection, election integrity, and public safety. So one of these is AB 1548. We're calling it MBASA, the Monterey Bay Area Stewardship Authority. It's going to create a tri-county entity that will be able to apply for grant funds. So like when we passed Proposition 4 for grant monies for climate, this organization, this authority would be able to apply for those funds and for ongoing stewardship and conservation in this region. We also are doing a bill, AB 1902, that's going to update the detention extension process for juveniles that I think has been a problem that has been brought to our attention after Maddie was murdered by Adrian Gonzalez here in Santa Cruz County. I know that rocked me to my core, and we want to make sure that the family's not subjected to having this case reheard every 2 years. So we're working on those issues there. We're also working with Metro, AB 1919, which gives them the authority to do a citizens initiative. And we're doing an act called the Pause Act. It's going to require chatbots to pause and encourage encourage users to seek help from a real person when the user indicates they have thoughts of suicide. So we have seen instances where these chatbots have actually encouraged, like, yes, why don't you go ahead and end your life? It sounds horrible. And so we want that to not happen. We want a pause to occur and have them get some help from a real person. And then we're working with Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District that will allow the general manager to more aptly get a contract for services and goods so they don't have to always go through an approval process. And then we're going to work with our CSU system to support students who to ensure that they graduate in as little time as possible, trying to get these folks into our workforce. And looking ahead for the budget in 2026, Newsom submitted his budget in January 9th. It's due on the 10th. He submitted it a day early on January 9th with what appears to be a significant budget deficit. This is primarily due to the uncertainty around the way California does its budgeting. We do rely on federal funding. And of course, the federal government has passed HR 1, which is going to have significant impacts on state and local budgets. And so Newsom is going to submit a revision of that called the May Revise. It happens in May because we're all paying our taxes in April, and that will give the state an idea of how much revenue we are getting in and what we're going to be able to do. And July 15th is the constitutional deadline. Actually, I think it's June 15th, right? It's not July. It's June. Okay. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It's the constitutional deadline to pass a balanced budget and send it to the governor. So we will be busy working through the spring on that. Our assembly budget subcommittees have already started meeting. So these are groups that are divided depending on issue areas. So there's one on health, there's one on transportation, there's one on human services, there's one on climate issues. And these committee members go through the budget with a fine-tooth comb. And last year we had, I think there was like 68 separate public hearings around the budget. I expect we're going to have as many this year as well. And for all of you, we need to hear from you. So you can submit budget letters to the subcommittee expressing what you are wanting to support, what you're opposed to, and also make sure you let our office know as well, because we can advocate on your behalf as well. So reach out to my office with any of your thoughts or concerns or questions or requests around budget issues. And the good news is that revenues looking pretty good right now. You know, the quarter revenues that we got in are looking pretty good, but this budget crisis we're in is not a single year situation. This is something that's going to be occurring. There's a lot of structural problems with our budget, and it's going to be something that's going to be occurring for years on out. So even if things are looking better and rosy this year, we can't go out and spend everything that we have available. We also want to build up our reserves again and have that rainy day fund as well. So it's like my kids when they had $10, right? I have one kid that would spend the whole thing, and I had the other kid that would save it. And then she'd gather up other money that she got. And by the end of the year, she'd have a lot more money to buy what she wanted. So as far as access to reproductive care, in the summer of 2025, we had 5 Planned Parenthood health clinics that closed, one being in Santa Cruz. And that really did provide vital services to our community as far as providing primary care, prenatal care, cancer screenings. So critically important. And we had to close that due to the budget cuts. And the Trump administration eliminated the funding for Planned Parenthood. And in an early budget action that we took just this week or last week, we passed a bill to allocate $90 million to support our Planned Parenthood clinics to restore some of those vital services that they have. It's not going to be enough to open the 5 clinics, but all clinics had to close down with their prenatal care, their primary care, and their behavioral health care. So we're hoping to continue those important services. And then this is just information about how to contact us. So yes, I have an office here in Santa Cruz at the County Government Center. And then and that's where Lizette and Charlie can be found. And then my San Jose district office is over on Almaden Expressway. Marianne goes back and forth. She's gotten to really love Highway 17. And I do have a satellite office over in Morgan Hill. And then, of course, the state capitol. So all this is our phone numbers and ways to get a hold of us. And, you know, I do my best job when I hear from you, when I hear from constituents as far as what your priorities are, where you are on legislation, what your thoughts and concerns are. So please always reach out if you have any questions or concerns. So with that, I will turn it over to our supervisor. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gail. It's easy to think that we are your only constituents here in Santa Cruz County, since you are our beloved clerk of elections for so many years. But I mean, the reminder that there's what, say 300,000 people over the hill in Santa Clara that you also need to take care of is well, it's a shocking reminder. So thank you for everything that you do. I'm going to share some things that are going on in the county, and also want to take a minute to celebrate a lot of the good work that the state and county have done together. To look at exactly where my district, the 1st district, and Gail's 28th Assembly District overlap. You can see on this map, so Gail comes, this is this red line that comes all the way down to close to the south part of the county, includes this whole north part, and of course, all those 300,000 some residents in Santa Clara. The supervisorial district I represent is this orange area here. So we actually have our greatest amount of overlap as far as population goes right here in Prospect Heights, which is why we're here. And of course, a lot of the middle of the Santa Cruz Mountains as well. About me, you know, Gail got to has so many nice serious photos. I found this one of myself just floating around online with my daughter, who's 2.5. So I'm having a lot of fun raising Charlie. I was personally born and raised in Santa Cruz. I worked in tech before getting into politics. So I worked in ad tech, gov tech, health tech, fintech. And originally started getting into local government through a company I started called Civinomics, which we were creating a political social media platform with the idea of really lowering the barrier to people creating citizen initiatives and directly influencing what they wanted to see government work on. And through that, I got more and more involved in ballot initiatives, including some with ranked choice voting and transportation, and ultimately won election in 2020. I also sit on various agencies and boards, including the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission, Santa Cruz Metro, a couple of groundwater management agencies, as well as others that are larger regional bodies like the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments. My district is a lot smaller than Gail's. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's like just a little bit more, about 11%, right? The big difference is, well, another difference is that a lot of the constituents in this supervisorial district are actually unincorporated, which means that there is no other level of government. We have fabulous Jerry Jensen from Capitola City Council here. And a little bit of this district overlaps with Capitola. I wish it was more, actually, because then more of the issues would be Jerry's and his councils to deal with. But instead, for 85% of constituents in this district, pretty much on the primary local government representative, which means, as former Supervisor John Leopold told me when he handed me the keys to the office, he said, "You are everything from the mayor of Live Oak to the village dog catcher. Have fun." But it also just shapes my focus areas as a supervisor. really, I'm more focused on some of the municipal issues because the county is basically the same as the city government in so much of the district. So my focus has been streamlining housing through improving the permitting process, improving our parks and roads, and keeping the community safe and clean. This is I have to call out Jillian Ritter, who is my analyst here in person, and we have Jamie Seahorn, my other analyst, who's helping us with the online portion of this. And this is a picture of Jillian and I helping out North Rodeo Gulch Firewise group cleaning up some encampments in the gulch. So let's take a minute to celebrate some of the wins we've had with the state and local government working together. This is Gail and I back in September celebrating the opening of the Children's Crisis Center. This is a fantastic new facility that lets kids who are suffering from a mental health crisis stay in county. Previously, if they needed anything more than 24-hour care, they would have to go out of county, which then makes it much harder for them to see their families. And it's just why are we adding all of that transition to what's already a tenuous situation was just not ideal. Now we have a bunch of beds right here. This is on the campus right next to the Sheriff's Center. Fantastic facility that we're really blessed to have been open to open this year. We've also made dramatic progress on bringing down homelessness. So a 36% reduction from the height in 2022 to today. That was almost 2 years. I mean, granted, they weren't back to back, but in 2023 and then again in 2025, we reduced street homelessness by about 20% both of those years. That, again, was through incredible partnership between the county and the state with encampment resolution grants, a lot of emergency housing vouchers, and homelessness today in our county is at the lowest level since we ever began counting with the point in time count back in 2011. So that's fantastic. And there's actually some hope that it could continue to come down further because there's still facilities that are largely been state funded that are going to come online. For example, the Behavioral Health Bridge Housing Project here. This is right next to our psychiatric care facility, which is on Soquel Avenue across from Harbor High. This is going to be opening up next month. 32 beds. So someone suffering from a mental health emergency who goes into that crisis center now will have a place for up to 6 months to stay and recuperate in a more significant way that's located right next door, rather than being just discharged and maybe ending up back on the streets. So this is going to allow us to provide much more comprehensive care. Live Oak Landing, the former Santa Cruz Inn there as you get off at the Soquel exit, is also transitioning to a 20-bed transitional housing facility. For people who are exiting homelessness. This is also a crucial facility that'll provide up to 6 months of transitional housing for people. It's going to be staffed 24/7. And I think, although there's some concern originally about this, I mean, you look at it, I think it looks better today than it did before. So, I mean, really, this is going to be a great resource as well. We've also had a bunch of home key projects that the state helped to fund. 7 units at Casa Azul down by Housing Matters in the Harvey West neighborhood. 120 units. If you've been down to the Costco area, you've seen rising up there. That's will also be opening up soon. Harvey West Studios. The pictured here, Park Haven Plaza, which recently managed to close a funding gap it had and is going to be back under construction soon. And Vets Village, which is up in the valley, 10 units of housing for formerly homeless veterans, which will increase to 21 units by the time they're done with that project. And there's even more actually funding that we recently got for facilities to help people dealing with substance use disorders, which I didn't even have a chance to make a slide for. But I mean, just the amount of investment is staggering that we've received from the state. And I think maybe no place is that more obvious than on some of the investments we've received from the state in transportation. I mean, this is what, $340 million that our small county has received. The first big amount we got was back in 2020, $107 million for Highway 1. Phase one, that's the project that you're seeing that it's now completed, and phase two, which is up to Aptos State Park Drive, which will be opening this year, as well as the SoCal Drive project, which recently opened at the end of last year. $105 million for the rail trail segments 8 through 11. This is the largest active transportation grant that the state has ever given out to our county. It's just phenomenal, and that project is moving forward and will probably break ground at the beginning of 2027. $128 million for Highway 1 Phase 3. This is the segment that will go from State Park Drive to Freedom Boulevard, as well as the rail trail that goes through Aptos Village there and over towards Seascape, and also funds to continue the SoCal Drive project all the way down to Freedom. So, I mean, we're going to have even new bus stations all along SoCal Drive. It's really going to be transformational, and we've only just started to see the impact of these projects. We celebrated the opening of the Whale Bridge just last year. That was part of the Highway 1 Phase 1 project. We've got 2 more phases to celebrate before this is all over. And wins on transit. I mean, close to $40 million for Santa Cruz Metro just a couple of years ago to buy 53 new hydrogen buses and build out Pacific Station, which also will be opening soon. $30 million recently for the Watsonville Transit Center, and which is pictured here. So it'll be 79 affordable homes over a new Watsonville Transit Center. So, I mean, really the amount of capital funding that we've received from the state is staggering, and we owe that in large part, large thanks to Assemblymember Pellerin and the amazing team that we have working for us up there in Sacramento. Of course, it's not all roses, so I'll talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we're facing, particularly around the county budget. And I think before I get into a couple of the policy details, this is just a look at the county's budget. We talk a lot about the top line figure, like $1.25 billion. And close to half of that comes from intergovernmental revenues, or money that comes directly from the state or federal government in order to fund specific programs. And so when we talk about HR1 or some of the challenges the state budget is looking at, that's where those are going to have an impact. Then another about roughly quarter of the budget is charges for services. So that's stuff that you wouldn't really, we don't really talk about day to day. That's like the fees you pay for the sanitation district or for waste management. We can't really get creative as far as how those funds are allocated. And then probably the most important is actually this light blue section on taxes. That is our property taxes, our sales taxes, our transient occupancy taxes from hotels and vacation rentals. And that is what the county has 100% discretion over how to spend. So when we talk about our core general fund budget, that's really what we're talking about, is that $250 million. And our general fund does face some significant challenges. I mean, just structurally, we only receive 13% of the property taxes that you pay. So I get this question all the time of like, hey, I just wrote a check for $10,000 to the county. Like, why can't you fix my road? The answer is, well, I didn't get $10,000 down at the county building. I got $1,300. And so on average, counties across the state are funded about 20% of their property taxes go back to the county. So we are well below that. We're definitely in the bottom tier. And if we actually got the average that other counties get, we'd get another $97 million a year towards our general fund. Again, it's $250 million today. So that would be really significant. Put in perspective, Santa Clara gets 16% of their property taxes back to the county. Doesn't sound like a big difference, but it is, because only 6% of Santa Clara residents live in the unincorporated area, as opposed to 50% in Santa Cruz County. So the county has to do a lot more for a higher percentage of the population here in Santa Cruz than in Santa Clara. We're also seeing, I don't think that's on the computer or anything here. So I'll continue. We're also seeing some challenges around leakage from sales taxes as more and more shopping goes online. So any taxes that we pass locally through our ballot, like Measure D 2016, the transportation sales tax, that is still assessed, and we still do get that. But a portion of the sales tax, the total sales tax that you pay, is sort of administered by the state and then redirected back to the locality, the point of sale. And the challenge is the state defines point of sale as the warehouse in those cases. So we are seeing about $5 to $6 million per year of leakage. And this is not my daughter, but it will probably be soon. She definitely thinks shopping is Amazon. And so this is a challenge that's only going to increase. And then one more challenge we face sort of that's just structural is that a lot of the billing for medical services has shifted to like fee for service billing to Medi-Cal. So someone goes to see a psychiatrist. We used to be able to just submit our costs of that visit and have that reimbursed. Now we have a fixed rate that we can bill Medi-Cal. And unfortunately, Santa Cruz County is grouped differently than a lot of the Bay Area counties. And so really the rates that we bill at are only about 70% of some of the Bay Area counties. And so that just makes it hard for us to get enough revenue to provide the same level of healthcare services. And it makes it hard to compete for those primary care providers, for those doctors, for those psychiatrists, because at the end of the day, our next door neighbors in Santa Clara and San Mateo can just pay more. And I will say, Gail has been a fantastic partner in thinking about how we address these issues. I remember the first time I came to her and said, Gail, these are some really big challenges. I don't know how we're going to solve these. And she said to me, we can do hard things. So these are problems that have been building up for decades. And if there's one partner that I want at the table and addressing them, it's Gail. Really, these structural funding deficits show up in deferred maintenance to our infrastructure. We make things work by just not doing as much on our roads as we should. We spend about 1.4% of our actual general fund, discretionary general fund dollars on roads, and it's starting to show. The other challenge is how we're going to pay for some of these new facilities in the long term, how we're going to make sure we have the operational funding. It's great to have a building, but you ultimately have to pay to keep those staffed as well. So looking ahead to the county's budget in 2026, it's going to be a really challenging budget year for a couple of reasons. And most fundamental is actually local. We're seeing sort of modest, really flat revenues, about 2.4% increase in our general fund, but costs are up. I mean, our labor contracts say we have to increase everyone's pay 4% this year to keep up with inflation. So our revenues are not keeping up with inflation. Our employees are all dealing with the high housing costs, just as all of you are. And so we want to do right by our employees, but we're also stuck with lagging revenues. And so just dealing with that, with the increase, the inflationary increase in all our supplies, just like you again, especially in terms of insurance, and I mean, utilities, fuel, everything else, it's going to be a very challenging budget year for the county just based on that. Then we're dealing with all the fun that our friends in the federal government have made for us through HR 1. One of those things that could land this year is backfilling the food assistance, food stamp error rate. So SNAP is the program that provides food stamps or food cards for people. And right now, I believe the federal government doesn't, and the state pay for the error rate or don't really, there's no penalty. Under HR 1, there is a penalty. And basically the federal government saying, if you made a mistake and accidentally, gave benefits to someone who shouldn't have them or is not eligible, you have to pay for it. And so that could be a hit of somewhere between $1 and $5 million to the county's general fund if we're on the hook for that. Now, obviously, we'll go back and try to eliminate those errors, but we know that there is some error rate in the system. The other thing is that with less and less people being eligible for Medi-Cal, that will ultimately mean more people are uninsured, and the county is required, really under its state charter, to be the indigent healthcare provider of last resort. And so we're trying to figure out how we're going to pay for that, when those changes really start to take effect, when people have to register for Medi-Cal twice a year, don't get the paperwork in, fall out, and now we have to use county money to pay for their healthcare. We talked already about some of the other structural issues we're dealing with, the Cal-AIM reimbursement rates. We're also going to be navigating Prop 1, 2024, the Behavioral Health Services Act, which said, hey, we should spend more money upstream on behavioral health. So this is really taking the millionaire's tax, which provides a significant amount of funding to address mental health. But Prop 1 said we're going to need to take more of that and spend it on housing. But as a result, we'll have less money to provide the services. So we're grappling with that in this year's budget. And then the state funding for homeless housing assistance program, that's really the primary homelessness funding that the county receives, has been up and down. So it's been a little bit difficult to predict how much we're actually going to have. I know Gail is arguing for every last penny that she can for this, and already has been hugely helpful in doing so. But in a difficult budget year, we could start to see some reductions in that. I will just say, I've just got one more content slide here, which is on housing, because I know we've got some folks who came over from across the Gulch to talk about some of the builders remedy projects and other just housing in general that we're seeing in our community, and sort of the new paradigm that has been created under a lot of new state laws. I'll say this. I mean, everyone agrees that there's a housing crisis, and very few, maybe no one, wants more housing next to them. And so that is the tension that we as local electeds and state electeds have been dealing with and trying to solve. And so the state has responded by creating a lot of new laws that enable housing. And I mean, in many ways, that's needed, right? We need housing. We see that, like, that's what's straining the county's budget, is the need to pay employees to afford house so that they can afford housing. And then there's, I mean, at the same time, they are very complicated because the legislature has done so much work to address this issue that there's so many laws on the books that then the implementation is complex. And I mean, sometimes leads to frustrating outcomes, like where we've landed with some of these builders remedy projects. I don't think anyone at the state assembly was envisioning exactly how this turned out. And there's obviously, I'll have to go back to correct some of these issues or improve the process. But at the same time, we do desperately need housing. And so it's understandable why the legislature has made all these laws. So hopefully simplification and improvement in the process will be something that comes in the future. Here's my contact information. I have both the office at Ocean Street, which is the lovely cement board cube downtown, and then also a district office over at the Sheriff's Center on the first floor there. And you can reach myself, Jillian, Jamie, all through this email address, first.district@santacruzcountyca.gov. And also point out, I do have office hours the first Wednesday of every month from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Sheriff's Center office there. Thank you. And with that, I think we're taking questions. I think we had, I mean, yeah, what our process is for taking questions, however you want to.
Take questions.
Okay, all right. Okay, hold on. I think we need give you a mic just because we do. Well, we
have people online.
We do, but just because we've got 36 folks online, and they're going to want to hear your question too. So I think we got to just give you this mic.
Well, I have a couple of questions. I'll start with the first one is that you had on the screen, which is roads.
Yeah.
Our roads are the worst in the country, if not the world.
I've been to 37 different countries. I've recently returned from other mountainous countries like Switzerland, Italy. Our roads are so bad. The road coming to my house hasn't been paved for 57 years. The last time it was repaved was 17 years before the 1989 earthquake. I've lost 4 rims because of that road. So what's going on? When are our roads actually going to improve? I see that as a priority for you.
Huge priority. And during the last couple of budget hearings I've been at the county, I've been very explicit about this, that we need to spend more of our general fund budget on roads, because that's just the most immediate way that we can get that done. My fellow supervisors have not supported me in those motions. I'm hoping that they'll understand, particularly some of the districts that have more of the unincorporated area and more folks driving on county roads that deal with this issue every day, that they'll come to understand there is no other place where we can get the money to do that. But I am absolutely advocating for roads every chance I get.
Okay, then let's look at it a different way. One of the problems that I've been told by Leopold, prior to you, is that the amount of tax revenue we get back from our taxes is less. You just confirmed that. What are we doing at the state level to get the level playing field back? Why is Santa Cruz County getting that much less money than Santa Clara County? We have the same amount of roads, the same miles of roads. Our county can't support our roads. Santa Clara County, their roads are at least 20, 30, 100% better than our roads. What is the state doing to try to get reapportion the tax dollars properly?
Yeah.
This county has grown from the effect of the Silicon Valley. The Silicon Valley has spilled into Santa Cruz County.
Mm-hmm.
What's the state doing to help?
Mm-hmm. Well, when it comes to roads, the state jumps in when there's disasters.
Well, I'm asking
right.
about apportioning the tax revenue properly.
Right.
Instead of us getting 16% or 11% and Santa Clara gets 16, and what does San Francisco get? 22%?
Oh, they're like 68%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing?
And so, I mean, it was basically when Prop 13 was passed in 1978, the legislature at that time had to figure out a way to go from effectively about 2.5% property tax to 1% with in a month. And what they did was they froze the percentage that every jurisdiction gets, the city, the county, school districts, fire districts, other special districts. They froze that percentage and sort of shrunk them all proportionally, and just hasn't changed since. And so it's a complicated problem. And as I said, Gail has been an incredible partner. And I think we're working on a piece of legislation that we hopefully will actually pass, right? That's the thing. I mean, we could throw spaghetti at the wall all day long, but we need to come up with a solution that changes things, but doesn't completely upset the apple cart, right? And so one thing we're looking at is how do we make sure that Santa Cruz County has the option to change to a formula that we feel is fair, and other communities that like the way their property taxes are distributed today are not forced to change. So that's the needle we have to thread. And as I said, we are working collaboratively on a solution to that. I think it's going to be a larger, more complex policy solution. We'll probably, I think our goal is to implement or introduce something in the next legislative cycle.
When's that?
27.
Pardon?
2027. Yeah.
Introduce in 2027. So that means another 2 to 3 years before something actually happens.
Well, on the larger issue, I mean, like I said, I'm advocating for more.
I'm never going to be able to even get to a grocery store in a matter of a couple more years. The roads are so bad. I've lost 3 rims.
So
4 rims. 3 of them, they're able to fight to get balanced the tires. I just bought tires again recently. They were able to really push it and get those 3 tires. The 1 rim, we had to just.
Can I ask what road it is?
Skyland.
Skyline. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on it several times. Yeah.
Why don't you drive it today?
Yeah.
If you don't have eagle eyes and a quick reflex, you're going to go right into a pothole. Or if a car's coming the opposite direction, you'll go right into a pothole.
Yeah.
And it's been like this for at least 3 decades.
Yeah, I believe you. I am advocating for you.
Okay,
You're
so
not the
let me
only
just
one that
keep, okay,
experiences this
so let me
problem.
keep on going.
Sir, I
know.
yeah. Look, I've got a letter from a 10-year-old girl today that said, please fix the roads.
Yeah.
So
We hear about it all the time. And unfortunately, there's so much repair work that we have to do, like when Mountain Charlie's Road washed out during the storm. And it actually happened after the storm, the declared emergency had ended. And there was homes that were stranded where there was no way for them to get to and from their house without hiking. And I had a person in a wheelchair. I had a person in her, what was she, 80, 85, something, an elderly person trying to get in and out, kids trying to go to school. It was a disaster. And that road basically took up all of the 5th District supervisors' funding to build that road so these people can get in and out. And God forbid, if there was an emergency where somebody needed an ambulance, they would have died. There was really no way to get to them. So unfortunately, there's a lot of that continues to happen because we're in a very disaster prone area. And a lot of times those roads wash out and it takes every dollar we have to rebuild them and get that commute going again.
I have one last question. We are the highest taxed state in the country. We not only are the highest tax, we also have the highest auto registrations, the highest permits, the cost of permits to build. We just went through it. In the meantime, there's a bill that's going through in the state government on mileage tax. What's your position on mileage tax, Gail?
So this is a study bill. This is not implementing a mileage tax. What's happened is that the gas tax revenue to maintain our roads has declined because so many people are driving electric cars. So this bill is basically saying, okay, experts, let's get together and let's study this and figure out the best way to fund our roads with declining revenue from the gas tax.
To replacement tax. I think it's been put out there that it's an additional tax. It's not an additional tax, it's a replacement.
It's a study. It's not a tax. It's a study.
Your constituents, it's more tax.
I know it.
Continue to raise our taxes.
It is a study. It's not raising anyone's taxes.
Hi. Speaking of disasters, how much income do you think you'll get from filling the people in all these apartment buildings? Is there going to be more revenue coming to us through that, for one thing? And then what is the ratio of hospital beds to numbers of people? And it doesn't seem like there's enough hospital beds to cover the county.
Yeah. Well, we're grateful to Senator Laird, number one, for going to bat for Watsonville Community Hospital when they were they were going under, and they are still like barely existing. And so that continues to be our priority, to keep hospitals open, especially in regions like this that can become a desert without enough beds and enough workforce to support the people needing care here.
I know I've been there where 17 was totally blocked by a tree. And we had an emergency that somebody needed to go to Stanford.
Yeah.
And a helicopter couldn't fly because of the fog.
Oh, yeah, horrible. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. I was really glad to hear that you like the hard fights, because boy, we really need your help. So I'm here on behalf of Stop the Haven, Save the Sandhills, and all the Builders Remedy.
Sorry, I didn't hear it.
I'll just speak up.
Okay, no, there's a phone ringing here. So I'm here because of the Builders Remedy. The Builders Remedy law.
The Builders Remedy laws that you voted for, and I'm sure when you voted for it, didn't vote for it. Oh, great. Okay. Well, I'm sure whoever voted for it did not intend to happen what has happened, which is basically that Santa Cruz County is being punished when they actually were in compliance. We went ahead and we, through the Freedom of Information Act, got all the documents and all the correspondence between Santa Cruz County and the state, HCD. And what we found was that Santa Cruz County was in compliance as of March the 15th. And what's happened is the state delayed sending a letter. And so I have a couple of questions. My first question is, how is it possible that the state can punish the county when the state did not do its job in sending a letter? And then secondly, my question is, when the letter did come to the Santa Cruz County, it was dated April the 23rd, and the county, for some inexplicable reason, asked to have it backdated to April the 12th, which then protected the 4 builders remedy projects that had been submitted, the last one being the Havens project on April the 11th, when they could have asked HCD to backdate it to March 15th. So I really hope you can help us in going to HCD and making this right and asking them again, they've already done it once, to backdate that letter to March 15th where it should have been. I don't know if, it seems to me, I was at the hearing that Supervisor was at last week, and I can tell you what I heard was that the terror from the supervisors, they are afraid of the state. They are talking about the millions of dollars in fines that will come about if they did not vote this through. In fact, the supervisor here said he would not vote for the project because it was so over the top, 5 stories high, blocking out the light around this poor little community, had it not been for the fear of what the state was going to do to Santa Cruz County. So you're the state. You're the state. You can help us. We need you. We need you to go to HCD and make this right.
So I just learned about this 2 days ago. And it is definitely my top priority, and we are on it because it seems absolutely ridiculous. Now, Builder's Remedy was passed before I was in office. Okay. And it was passed with the intention of, if a jurisdiction was out of compliance with their housing element, right, and then basically developers can build as long as it's got a percentage that's affordable and yada yada. And so the fact that the county had done everything in their power to get their housing element passed, had been working with housing HCD, and which I have the document, and you have the document. So thank you for that, because that's going to help us a lot when we go to HCD and talk to them and say, what the heck is happening here? Right. So we are definitely on that. And that was just brought to our attention just a couple days ago.
We really, really need you. I cannot tell you, there are thousands of people in this county who are counting on you. I mean, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but we are on it, and we agree. Yeah.
It's more than just the neighbors.
Yeah. No,
I mean, it's the hospital beds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's we need you.
Right.
I know there's other people here who are directly affected, and I'm sure they would like to speak. I'm gonna take the microphone right over here.
Yeah, she's gonna bring you the microphone.
Oh, and I just want to clarify with these microphones, they're not intended to amplify your voice. They're so people on the Zoom call can hear what you're saying. Yeah. So it's important to talk into that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not going to read you everything I had planned because you just heard most of it.
Oh yeah, no, this is good.
I'm from the Capitola, 841 Capitola Road project. We were told, I was also at the supervisors meeting, and we were told after they voted not to accept us, that it would be better for our community to sue.
I heard that too, yeah.
Okay, well, what that means then is this small neighborhood, where do we get the money to sue the state?
Well, you're suing the county.
Or the county.
The county,
okay,
yeah.
But the
Yeah.
state's the one that's causing the issue with the county, right?
Well, I think there's
Because
two ways to attack this. I think that is one option, but then we are also going to take it upon ourselves to have those meetings with HCD, provide the documentation that you got, and push back on them as far as why are we in this situation we're in today. It makes no sense to me either.
Okay, but my question then is, since we were told we should be the ones to sue. Do we do that? Are you going to then make it right or try to make it right before we have to sue? Before we have to go out to the community and ask for money? You know, beg them? Because if this builder's remedy project goes through, it's going to open the door for the other three. So we're the first.
Right.
If we sue and we lose, they have no hope.
So yeah, so let me clarify the process, right? I mean, what I was explaining was the county is going to get sued one way or another, either by the residents who oppose the project or by the developer whose projects we oppose. And if we took the position of denying the project and being sued by the developer, we would also potentially have a bunch of fines and we could not recover our attorney's fees. So I think at this point, the only way to stop the Capitola Road project would be if you guys sued the county.
So how
Now,
do we-
now hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
What could change here, though, is if Gail is able to convince HCD to send a backdated letter, it would basically just strengthen your case. And now, if you sue the county, you actually can get your attorney's fees compensated if you win. And also, the developer, the applicant is the one that is effectively paying those fees. The county, they're holding the county harmless and really being the defense there. And so what Gail could effectively do if she gets HCD's compliance is to provide greater assurance that you would win and that ultimately, while you would have to file that case, that you would get to recover those fees.
And it's not just me. I mean, we're going to be working with Senator Laird. We're going to be working with Assemblymember Don Addis and of course, Speaker Rivas as well, because he has a piece of Santa Cruz County as well. So this is something that impacts the county. So I'm hoping to get the whole Santa Cruz County coalition in sync on this.
So what is the time frame for this?
Well, my chief's been working on it for the last 2 days. So, you know, I mean,
Well, we're going to have meetings with our lawyers, our attorneys.
yeah, that's a good idea.
I guess my question is how far forward do we keep going? And how do we interface with, it won't help us if you aren't on this right away.
Mhm. No, I mean, I think it's important to be attacking this from both means. So I think it's important for you to continue to pursue the legal action, and it's important for us to continue our pressure with HCD. And that we need both those things happening simultaneously. And I could, you know, just my experience working with some of these state departments, it takes a while. I mean, how many months did it take us to get a meeting with Caltrans? 4? Yeah. You know, so sometimes even a legislator has a hard time getting into the state departments.
And I just wanted to set the record straight because Workbench said that we just didn't want anything built at 841. That's not true.
Right.
It's not true at all. But what we want built is housing for folks who already live in our community.
Yes.
And if that building goes through, the only people who can afford to live in it are going to come from over the hill where, like everything else, they can afford more. They get higher salaries. They can move in and exacerbate the problem that we already have.
I hear you. Thank you for being here.
The summary of what you're talking about, the people who don't know what you're talking about.
Sure. So,
I mean, I'm also happy to give a summary
go
of the issue
Go
because I've been living it and you just got exposed to it.
Yeah.
Yes and no. So what happened? So the state passed this law called the Housing Accountability Act. It includes this thing called builder's remedy, which means that if a local jurisdiction does not have a part of their general plan called the housing element that has been approved by the state, then effectively their general plan and zoning code goes out the window and people can build whatever they want. Developers can apply to build whatever they want. And so for the unincorporated Santa Cruz County, we had a deadline of December 15th, 2023. And we were making every effort to submit our housing element and have it approved by the state by that deadline. We submitted it on November 15th. They took their maximum amount of time to review it, which is 60 days. So we heard back from them, I think, January 16th or something. And they said, oh, we've got more edits we'd like you to make to it, which was already frustrating because we had given them a copy of it twice before. And we already asked them for any changes ahead of time. So these were new comments that were coming in at the end of the day. We worked with them, we responded to their comments, and we submitted the modified housing element on February 23rd. By March 15th, our staff, county staff, had a meeting with Housing and Community Development, HCD staff, and they said, we're good with it. We don't see any need to make any more changes. This is essentially compliant. We intend to approve it or certify it. And then basically over a month went by till April 23rd, when the county got a certified letter from HCD saying your housing element is approved. On April 9th, a builder's remedy project was submitted for Capitola Road, and on April 22nd, a builder's remedy project was submitted for Paul Sweet Road, which is the image that I showed it right over here, middle of Dominican Oaks. And those are 5 stories next to a single family neighborhood and 6 stories next to a hospital. So that's the issue. Now, could this happen? And of course, there's also the Sand Hills project, which I think those are all single family homes.
Directly across from the campgrounds at Henry Cow on Sand Hill site, they're taking out 700 trees, putting 700 parking spots, an 18,000 square foot commercial facility. The units are 3 stories high on the footprint of what would be a mobile home park. It's going to destroy the camping experience at Henry Cow, and it is going to affect people being able to survive a fire. There's a fire getting out of the valley. It is really, it is a horrible project, and it's motivated by nothing but greed.
Now, and I will also say that in that case, there's, as far as the discussions I've had with county staff, not the infrastructure to support it. There's just not that. I mean, it's just not the sewer infrastructure, for example.
Still keep getting 90-day delays.
Right.
90-day extensions.
Yeah. Right.
Because the state says that that's what we can do.
Right. So it's not going to happen again tomorrow because we do now have a certified housing element, and this is an 8-year cycle. But obviously it's something we'd like to fix, both to address these projects and the next time. I don't know.
One back.
Ms. Pellerin, basically what I'm hearing from you is you just heard about 841 a couple days ago. Is that correct?
I heard about the housing element
issue. Okay, so,
issue. Yes.
and 2 days ago, is that correct? And you're jumping right in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good. I'd like to read a little something here. You know the fun part about working with the state? It's while we sent in our application on time and they said, oh, we've got to think about this. You've got to go over it for a few months. And oh, while we're thinking about it, you're out of compliance. We're out of compliance and we don't have an approved housing element, and the builder's remedy kicks in. And the builder's remedy means do whatever the hell you want. Supervisor Koenig, do you remember that remark?
Yeah.
When was that remark made?
I'm afraid I cannot tell you the exact date.
I can tell you the exact date. October 10th, 2024. That is almost 18 months ago. This person has heard about it 2 days ago. What did you do in the interim?
I did a lot of work with county staff and who were in constant communication.
Name anything. Name anything.
I mean, sir, I looked at every opportunity that the county.
I'm sorry.
Well, if you don't cut me off, I can give you more details, sir.
Please do.
Yeah, I mean, we thoroughly investigated all of these claims made by the residents about like when we'd be in compliance. We went over every opportunity with county council to actually fight the builder's remedy projects, including, whether, the argument of backdating the letter, whether we even needed a letter under state law, or if simply you could be in compliance just by having.
To no avail.
I would say that our county council felt that there was significant risk, and you heard that at the hearing last week.
Exactly.
If we were to fight it, that we could be looking at, up to between fees and between fines from the state and legal fees.
3 million. We're talking
Sir,
3 million.
$5 million or more on Capitola Road, and then probably about the same amount on Paul Sweet Road. So that was the risk and the calculation that we were forced to make at the Board of Supervisors.
Agree. The point I am making is that Ms.
Yes.
Pellerin is just hearing about this now and is apparently working at the state level. Is that correct?
Correct.
There's one clarification though, this project that he's talking about is not in your,
Right.
your assembly.
It's not in my assembly district.
Understood.
Yeah, yeah.
But basically, this has got to be solved ultimately at the state level, correct?
Correct, with the HCD. Correct.
Okay, and so you're talking Supervisor Koenig about the local level. Did you reach out to Ms. Pellerin's predecessor or anybody at state level in terms of your concerns that you voiced on October 10th?
So I think I mean, Gail may or may not be able to solve this issue.
Understood. That wasn't the point.
Look, again, and here's why. First of all, once state laws are passed, they're passed. And she has to work with the law going forward.
Understood.
Okay. And if I could explain a little bit more, another big question that came up at the hearing was, does the date of the certification even matter, right? I think that probably if I had to bet on, how Gail might be able to impact this process, if she can, would be getting HCD to change the certification date of the letter that they provided, right? And they did it once before, and in theory, they should be able to do it again, right? With enough arm twisting. The question is, does that certification date even matter? Because potentially builder's remedy is a sort of status that could vest under an SB 330 application, which freezes the state of play when an application is submitted. This is complicated, obviously, right? I mean, that's what
Understood. Let's talk about that slide that you put up there.
Sure.
That's Paul Sweet Road, correct?
It is.
Whose project was that? Your former planning commissioner. So I'm going to ask you, basically, it's my understanding that you've been on the record insofar as that you felt that there was not a conflict of interest in terms of having Tim Gordon discharge his responsibilities as planning commissioner while simultaneously pursuing a very ambitious agenda as a developer. My understanding is that you were on the record saying there was no conflict of interest. Is that correct?
That's correct. There was not a conflict of interest, but when he did ramp up his housing agenda, I asked him to resign as the planning commissioner. When I appointed Tim Gordon, he was working on a 15-unit townhome project on SoCal Drive. Obviously, the scale of work that Workbench has done has changed. And you can go back and review any of the planning commission meetings where they were talking about the housing element, and Tim was not an impediment to getting the housing element approved. If anything, he encouraged the planning commission to hurry up and get it approved.
But it was approved being deficient. Is that not correct? Otherwise, it would not have been denied or would not have been found in compliance, not in compliance. Is that correct?
It was as compliant as could be based on based on 2 rounds of feedback from HCD. No one was trying to make it incompliant.
I mean, this is a very broken process. I got to say this, it is a very broken process with HCD. And, I'm learning a lot about this, talking to supervisors like Manu, because he's been on this and shepherding this and trying to get it to a resolution. So, I'm grateful for all the work that you've done on this. And, and we're going to try to do what we can do. But like you said, I could very well be unsuccessful in that. And it's very frustrating because we don't always, we have the legislature and then you've got these state departments that are not always on the same wavelength, so it does take some time to work through these state departments to get what we're trying to get done.
Sorry, these questions online. We want to get the online people a chance to just ask those questions.
Okay.
Maybe what we'll do is we'll go one online question and then one in-person question.
Okay.
Great idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's one.
Okay.
Jamie, do you want to unmute somebody?
Sure. Hi, supervisors. I do have 6 questions already loaded in my Q&A. So we can do this a couple ways. We can ask those folks to raise their hands if they'd like to speak for themselves. So if you put a question in the Q&A and you'd rather go ahead and speak it out loud, can you please raise your hand for me? I do have 2 hands raised. Bear with me. Thank you. Sarah Rigler, you had one of the questions in the Q&A, so I'm going to unmute you first. And Molly, I'm going to come back to you after I read the ones that are already in the chat here. Allow to talk. Sarah, you should be able to unmute.
Hi, good evening to Gail and Manu. I haven't met you in person, but I know Gail. I live in Boulder Creek, which is Gail's district, and I'm very concerned. I know several people have talked about the roads. Graham Hill is a complete mess. Highway 9, I know that's Caltrans, is really a mess, and there was an announcement that the speed limit is supposed to be reduced, but we have no oversight. We have no enforcement. So we have cars that are just speeding like crazy on a 2-lane road, often when it's only 1 lane. And I want to know how there can be more enforcement, which I understand is going to cost money, but both with the county and the state, because Graham Hill is part of the county road system. That's my first question. My second question has to do with the effort to stop offshore oil drilling from the Trump administration to our national marine sanctuary off the coast of the Monterey Bay area in Santa Cruz and Monterey. So those are my questions, and thank you for taking them.
Sure. So on the speed limit on Highway 9, that is certainly something that we could inquire about and find out how we can get more enforcement out there. Certainly lowering the speed limit requires a lot of public education to make sure people understand what the new speed limit is, but getting enforcement out there is going to be key to really drive that message home. Now, Graham Hill are you talking speed or condition on Graham Hill?
Oh, am I
Condition.
still?
Yeah.
So speeders and condition. So the
Yeah.
county public works, I believe, takes care of the roads in the county unincorporated areas.
Right.
So it's both
That's
speeding and the condition of the road.
Okay, so I think that's Monica Martinez's district, right? Or
Yeah.
yeah. So we could definitely let her know that there's been a constituent who's requesting some road maintenance work out on that highway or that road. And but as we all know, our road maintenance budget is pretty limited in the county, and I'm not sure how quickly they're gonna be able to get that done.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be tomorrow, but I'll definitely communicate to Monica to address Graham Hill Road's condition. One thought that came up, I mean, and we talked a little bit more extensively about road conditions and some of the funding challenges there. But one thought that did come up while you're talking as far as enforcement, and make sure that you're aware of, Gail, is there are some jurisdictions, I think San Francisco and maybe some in Marin, that have been given legislative authority to do speed enforcement with cameras.
Right, we did some of those in San Jose too.
In San Jose too, great. We would love to get that authority here for some of these roads like Graham Hill. SoCal San Jose Road is a problem. And I mean, because at the end of the day, there's only so many CHP officers to go around.
Yeah.
And I mean, we already, like, one of the most effective things for speeding is the speed feedback signs. And if you could add a ticket to that, it would probably be even more effective. So we'd love to get
Using technology is a good idea. Yes. Yeah.
We'd love to get on the list.
Yeah, I mean, the accident rate is really high, and it's a main thoroughfare, it's a main commute road. So it's really important.
Yeah, I hear you. And then on the offshore oil drilling, that was really concerning to me as well. The proposal to open up offshore oil drilling off our California coastline after 40 years. And so we held a press conference in Sacramento and basically declaring our opposition to that. I was very strong in saying that this is not going to be happening in California, not now, not ever. And at the time, we were very low on the number of public comments that were being submitted into the agency that was going to be making decisions around this. So we pushed it out on social media, we pushed it out in an e-blast, and it resulted in a huge influx of comments that were submitted. So I don't know exactly how many, but Lizette's been following this. And so we're looking at what the next steps are now to continue to fight against this plan to do offshore oil drilling. The reality is that California's coastal communities bring in $51 billion into the economy through our tourism, through our, the sport fishing, through our recreation that we have on the coast that well exceeds any kind of oil monies that can be made off of our coastline. So we know what can happen to our beaches when we allow this offshore oil. So we are going to continue to fight this every step along the way. So.
And I'll just add that one thing we're doing in local jurisdictions like the county is, we passing ordinance. We do have ordinances already on the books that basically prevent any onshore facilities that support offshore drilling.
Refineries.
And we're working with all the coastal counties and cities in California to try to make sure they all have the same kinds of ordinances in place. And we're also updating our own local ordinance to extend to deep sea mining. Because actually one of the greatest risks for our area is not so much the oil as the Davidson Seamount, which is off of Big Sur, a little bit higher and possibly quite rich in deep sea minerals. So we want to make sure that that is not mined, and we'll do so by preventing any onshore facilities.
There's a great documentary that we saw too in Sacramento Oceans with David Attenberg, and really a great documentary. I'm trying to get it to come to Santa Cruz, so we'll keep your eyes peeled for that.
Am I still muted?
I'm gonna mute you now, Sarah. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to start with the first comment that came in.
I think we're going to take one person here in the audience and then come back to you, Jamie.
Okay. Sounds good.
Darius.
Well, thanks. I'm just going to make let me just make a quick comment about the housing situation. First of all these projects you see and so forth and the paper, 50% of them will probably ever come to fruition. It's all a matter of financing, the economy, and so forth. So yeah, it looks dire. I think it's maybe half will ever get built. Not that it's going to satisfy you, but keep that in mind. And second, as a landlord with quite a few units, the market has changed. I never have had much vacancy. There is more vacancy. My landlord peeps also agree. The rental market has softened. I think it's a function of the new units that have come on board. And I tell you right now, you will not see rent increases in Santa Cruz for probably the next 5 years.
Wow.
And you might even go down.
Wow.
But my question I have for Gail.
Good to hear. I haven't heard that. So.
But for Gail, what's going on with the insurance situation?
Oh,
on one of my buildings, it went from 4,900. First of all, State Farm dropped 5 of my claim-free policies.
So frustrating.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And one of my buildings went from $4,900 a year, 5,000 deductible, 17 grand, 50,000 deductible.
Yeah.
So why is it Roberto Lara? Is he our guy?
Yeah. Ricardo Lara is our insurance commissioner. Yes.
Why is the California market open to state for all these auto policies, which obviously are profitable because every other commercial on TV, liberty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you want to take advantage of our automotive, our 28
insure our
million?
homes as well.
Then you insure our homes.
With you.
Where the hell is that?
No, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, we're the 5th largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
And probably
Maybe even the 4th. Yeah.
Who's on top of this?
Yeah. No, it is a huge crisis that has been decades in the making, where our insurance rates in California were extremely low compared to other states. And yet our housing prices kept going up and up and up. So if you were paying $2,400 a year in fire insurance and your home that you purchased at one time for $350,000 is now 1.8, to replace that, then that insurance policy is not covering it. So, and then you've got the disasters after disaster after disaster that have been occurring. And that has really destroyed the market. So Merced Insurance had Paradise, the little town of Paradise that went up in smoke. They had most of the insurance for that area. They went bankrupt after that. They can no longer function. So we have made some changes to allow the insurance carriers to do catastrophic modeling, meaning that they can project out for these disasters to come up with different rating systems to be able to remain solvent and insure your properties. So this is all taking time, though, to sort out. We're actually seeing insurance companies coming back to California, and they're starting to write policies now in Paradise, which is amazing that is happening now. But it is a very slow process. And in the meantime, you've got the fair plan, which is the unfair plan, which continues to grow and grow and grow, and is not really sustainable for any kind of disaster. And what's happening with our homeowners is that they have to have the fair plan to cover their structure and then get a supplemental policy to cover all their belongings because they can't get a comprehensive policy. So I believe we're going to get to a point where the insurance carriers will be coming back. They will be back writing policies, but it's going to be a sticker shock. It's going to be a lot more than what you paid before, but it will be comprehensive into one policy. So gradually this is starting to happen. I agree with you. If you're writing auto insurance policies, you better be writing home insurance policies as well. I agree with you on that one. So Lisa Calderon is, huh? At a fair price. Yes, absolutely.
We have, I'm glad you brought that up. We were paying approximately,
1,200.
Yeah, 4,000 to 5,000 a year for everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And now we're paying 20,000?
Oh, yeah.
What happened with double?
Yeah.
Double.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. I'm in the same boat. I feel your pain and I hear you.
We
Yes.
pay 15
Yes.
for, 14 something for fire, and then you have to pay the rider on top of that?
Right.
So
No.
we're-
Yeah.
My wife just corrected me, 17.
Yeah. No, it is insane. It is absolutely insane. And so
Yeah,
the-
we're ready to move out of the state, like
Yeah.
shoot the other, but how many millions of people have already left?
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll take a
Okay.
question
I hear you.
online. Jamie, do you want to promote the next person? You're on mute, so if you're trying to, there you go.
Okay, I'm going to read you first a comment from Rich Everett. Talking about the state budget, all connected to our personal lives. What's affecting us? Fuel prices due to gas tax and refineries leaving. We are farmers. Most things are connected to fuel, including our selling prices. I drove from the Midwest to home recently. The air quality in other states are as clean or cleaner than ours. Their roads are better than California roads, as are their rest stops. Yet, price in every state was 1/3 to 1/2 the cost of California. Be smarter, reduce fuel prices.
Thank you for that. Agree.
From AZ, when I shop online with a major company, I get charged the same sales tax as I would pay in store. If the online sales taxes are the same, why does the county not get the full sales tax? Where does that money go? What determines the percentage of property taxes that the county gets back from the state? Is our county so low compared to others?
So, yeah, I was talking about how some sales tax gets sent to other communities when you shop online, and that's because a portion of the sales tax is administered by the state. Well, I mean, all the sales tax is administered by the state, but a large percentage is sort of up to the state to decide how to distribute. If it's like I said, if it's a local sales tax that we passed here, like for example, 2016 Measure D, that gets applied no matter what. But it's that percentage that the state is figuring out where to send, that they send it to wherever the warehouse is, not where the person buying the material is. And then warehouse jurisdictions will sometimes make deals where they say, hey, you build your warehouse here and we'll, or you use our county as the place of business and we'll give you half the money back. Apple, Amazon. And so there is actually money like leaving the public sector because of some of these deals. But yes,
They
the
don't
rate,
provide health insurance to their employees.
right. But the rate is going to be the same because it's just about where it's sent, not how much is charged. As I think I explained that Prop 13 was what led to the differences in how the amount of property taxes each jurisdiction gets, and it's based purely on sort of historic proportions, and the politics of that are complicated enough that they have not been changed since Prop 13 went into effect in 1978.
Thank you.
Even four, so you have, here's a question.
I'm going to take one more question here. Person.
Hi. So this may not be a popular sentiment in this crowd, but I want to thank you both for your work at the state and local level, because I cannot imagine how challenging it is, both getting the feedback that you get, but also just dealing with the bureaucracy. It's not an easy task and feat, and thank you for that work. I'm super impressed and so happy to see the investments that have happened around behavioral health, mental health, especially for children. So thank you for your commitment to that. I'm also I want this this crowd to really acknowledge and appreciate the fact that homelessness has declined significantly in this community. And it's a really, amazing thing to see, but it took time, right? And I think that's the one thing I'm not hearing here is any patience. And I feel like, in reality, to continue to make progress, I appreciate the fact that a lot of these building projects won't happen. That's true. But even the ones that do, they take a lot of time. And there are open public comments, that we can make and we can give feedback, et cetera. But I guess in the end, I just want to say this process is challenging. I appreciate your work and don't give up.
Same to you. Don't give up.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here. It's really so important. It's great to see so many people here and online tonight. So thank you for being here.
Maybe two more online questions this week.
All right. Well, we'll take one or two more online questions, Jamie.
Sure. This is from Nikki Patterson.
Sorry, hold on. I'm gonna turn your volume up.
Sorry.
What was that?
This is from Nikki Patterson. There are kids that need inpatient services for mental health and trauma. How likely is it that we'll get a secure facility for flight risk youth? Is there room in the budget to address this need?
Is that
Is
the Live Oak facility?
I mean, I thought that the Live Oak facility was pretty secure.
Yeah.
I mean, if that, so if there's some difference in what the was it Vicky is seeking versus what's available at the Nikki. Nikki, do you want to comment directly on
We were wondering if the Live Oak facility actually provides that, but maybe Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if there's like a legal distinct. We're having trouble hearing you, Nikki. I don't know if there's
Okay, can you hear now?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Okay, this is Kristen Rattan, not Nikki. We're all actually all in the same room. And I think we're just curious about what opportunities. So the facilities that are currently available for youth who have challenges are not particularly secure. And we have a lot of runaways. We have a lot of trauma and difficulties in the communities. And we're just wondering, we saw something in Gail's presentation about possible things coming up in the future, and we wanted to hear more about that.
Yeah, the Children's Crisis Center that's opening over here by the off of SoCal Avenue, 5300 SoCal Avenue, I believe it is secure. I mean, unless there's some additional distinction that I'm not familiar with, but I mean, it is a locked facility that is built to handle the most extreme mental health crises, both in the short term for a 24-hour stay or for up to about a month.
And what I'd like to offer is if you could contact my office and let's set up a meeting so I could learn more about what it is exactly you're looking at and looking for in the area. And, we did pass Prop 1 and there is funding in there for facilities. So if there's something you have in mind and somebody you're working with, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. And you're welcome to reach out to my office as well as far as connection with county services and including the new Children's Crisis Center.
We have one more question. Okay. And then
it's for him, right?
It's for all of us. I'd like to say you can do big and hard things. I know you can. And I'm just going to ask for one.
Okay, good.
We are the 4th largest economy in the world. 75% of our income comes from the 23 cities and counties on the coast. And yet our money goes to the state and we keep between 11 and 17%, depending on where you are in this county. I want you to write the bill. I want to hold you, Manu and Pellerin, to getting it on the ballot next year, 2027. I want to see that initiative to ask that we be able to keep more of our funds locally in the communities on the coast that need it. to supply the things these people are asking for. Okay?
Yeah, it might be it's state billed rather than something that's
Yeah.
on our local ballot,
It is,
just to be
it's a
clear.
state deal.
Yeah.
I know, because I've already pressed you 3 times.
We could
So,
we could
hold
definitely
up.
look at what's possible there.
But-
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I know you get it. So this is what we have to do. We can't keep raising taxes on the locals every time we need something. We have to ask the state to let us keep more of our money so we can take care of things here. We get it that we're supporting the rest of the state.
Yeah.
But they don't have the same population. They don't have the same needs. We need to keep more of it here.
Yeah.
And I do want to say one thing about affordability. The term affordability means median income. Median income between 112 and 132,000. That is not our workforce. We need to build housing for our workforce, for the homeless.
I agree with you.
Not
Yep.
for those who are making 6-figure incomes so they can keep moving here.
What you asked Lizette, whenever
So,
I hear about affordable
it's the
housing, I
word
say affordable to
affordability
who? Who is it
needs to
affordable
be
to? What is the
changed.
dollar amount? Yes, absolutely.
We need, I mean, I don't care. You can build what you need to build, but it needs to be for the people who live and work here.
Yeah.
Not so you can keep bringing more people
Right.
in who keep raising that affordable line
Right.
so that the workforce can never survive.
We need to make sure we're building the right housing in the right location for the people that need it at the price point they could afford. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you everyone online.
Thank you all. Thank
We
you.
appreciate your engagement.
Reach out to our office if you have any other questions. Thank you.
All right. Good night.